Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Broken Sword, Shadow of the Templars, the Director's Cut, with more sex. This game I loved as a kid. Simple beans. It's brilliant. Good point and click adventure game. You'll see, obviously, the bits of the story. You play George Stobbart, involved in something while he's on holiday in France, and shit goes down. And I love this. This one, I mean, as I go along, I'll get my bearings. I'm pretty confident I'll remember the majority, and so some puzzles I shall fly through. However, there are 5 of these games. The 5th one was released not so long ago. I played on the Xbox, but I never got to complete it. So, I'm going to struggle with the later ones. Well, let's dive on in.
Paris. City of love, romance and dreams. So they say. I used to say it too. But ever since that day, the day of the murder, I've always associated my beloved Paris with death.
Never played it. It's like, it looks like it's been, a lot's been redone. That's how it started with the original. And it did this, you put it in and it just did this. Then it went to the start menu. And originally, me and my brother got stuck in a puzzle far in, and he had an open evening at school. And when I figured out the puzzle, I was like, shit, I really want to continue the game, but I can't go no further until he's back. We did this together as kids, like this game. It was like the old Resident Evils and stuff, like the original PlayStation 1 games, Nightmare Creation, stuff like that. Worms, fucking Worms, we suspect about Worms on the Mega Drive. We actually probably did first ever versions of Let's Play very early, because we used to use a talk boy and record us playing the games.
I was at home having a bath when my editor called.
Collard, get your ass over to the Palais Royal now. You got an interview.
I don't remember it doing them either.
With Pierre Carchon. Yes, the Pierre Carchon. No photos, so leave your gear at home. He asked for you personally. Don't ask me why. Anyhow, this could be big, so if he makes a pass, don't forget. Just smile, say yes, and keep taking notes.
So charming and so very apt. Pierre Carchon was a media king, a national hero, and one of the most infamous adulterers in Europe. He and his wife Imelda were just one step down from royalty. Whoa, I hate mimes, but unless you humor them, they don't go away. Here I was, the palace of the media king and the ice queen. I pressed the doorbell and set in motion a chain of events which would change my life forever.
Yes? What is it?
Madame, my name is Nico Collard. I'm here to see Monsieur Carchon.
Come up, we're on the first floor.
Oh. Hey, you were very quiet, weren't you, Mr. Mine?
Madame Carchon, it's a pleasure to meet you.
None of this was in the...
Yes, I'm sure.
The Ice Queen was certainly living up to her reputation. Will you be staying for the interview?
Mademoiselle, I know little of my husband's business affairs, and I care even less. I certainly have no intention of watching him or yet another pretty little journalist. I think you're kind of them.
Oh. The game definitely saw this before.
Oh, I'm sure you are.
I wasn't for your father. He was a great man.
My father, he never mentioned.
He died very close, and then his death. So tragic. I'm Imelda, your damn cat in my study again. And I'm in the
Excuse me for one moment, my dear girl.
You journalists are getting younger each year.
Perhaps it's the rest of the world getting older, madame. That was no cat.
God, what? Monsieur Carchon!
I can't believe she went over to him. You know, bear in mind you saw him at the front door. And then
He's
in
dead.
there.
I must call the police. You'd better stay here.
There was a man. It was the mime. Do you think he...
Well, I believe we can rule out suicide, don't you?
No wonder they called her the Ice Queen. She would have been top of my list of suspects if I hadn't seen the attacker myself. And if I hadn't come across a couple of murders just like this already. One of the most important men in Europe murdered. And here was I, Nico Coulard, alone at the scene of the crime. Should I wait for the cops? Or start my own investigation? It was a no-brainer.
Wait for the cops. Palais Royal. Pierre Carchon interview. Relaxing in the bath when I was disturbed by a phone from my editor. Right. Ripping mime outside the Carchon's apartment. MMA Carchon, cold as ice. M. Carchon, suave and charming. Living up to his reputation, played along with his flirtation. The sound of a vase smashing, and M. Carchon went to investigate. A gunshot. I rushed into the room and found a mime standing over Carchon's body. I was going to say, look for this circly.
A small round piece of glass had been cut out of the pane. This was a professional job.
Pardon me, what else we got around here? We got anything to click on?
The bookcase was filled with obscure first editions. It contained rows of titles I didn't recognize. A bust of Pierre Carchon, humble servant of La France. Pierre Carchon again. His eyes seemed to follow me around the room.
So if you right click, they do the thing.
I didn't want to cut myself. Call me old-fashioned, but I like to keep my DNA to myself. The killer must have used a ladder to reach the window. He was long gone. Guess he folded that ladder up, popped it in his pocket and took it with him. Mimes and guns don't usually go together, but I had an idea that this was no ordinary mime. I'd come across this murderer before and written about him. The costume killer, at least that's what I'd called him. I closed his eyes. It was the least I could do for the poor fellow. I opened his eyes. Best to leave the crime scene as I found it. I closed. I closed.
Dead?
I opened
Alive?
his... I closed.
Bye?
I opened
Hi.
his eyes. Some people hate searching corpses for clues. Me, I'm okay with it. Reminds me of an old boyfriend. In his pocket, I found a ticket stamped Bateau de la Conciergerie. Taking the ticket meant I'd tampered with the evidence. There was no going back now.
Never mind, you touched the fuck.
Carchon had been shot.
What's this?
It was one of my hair clips. My favorite, in fact. It must have fallen when I was knocked down. No.
I was gonna...
It was a boat ticket stamped when I was a little girl. Papa used to take me on the Bateau Mouche as a treat. It was one of my hair clips.
Okay.
No.
Think that's everything then, yeah? Check his relay? No. That's a spanner. Ah. Okay. I think that's everything then.
The police could turn up at any minute. Somewhere there were clues to the murder, and I needed to find them.
The game didn't
A
start like
Louis
this at all,
XIV's
man.
table with an antique cloth. Imelda had taste. But hey, with a husband that rich, taste is easy.
Mm-hmm.
I reckoned that cloth might just turn out to be useful.
Oh,
Even my fingernail wouldn't fit into such a small hole.
but this will.
Aha! Nico, you are just so damn good at this stuff. Instead of comforting Imelda, I was ransacking her flat. Why? Because there was something going on here, and I had to get answers before the cops arrived. And hey, she'd been rude to me, so she had it coming.
What's this? Oh.
It was a tube of acrylic paint. French ultramarine. Just the color I was after for my bathroom.
I'm sorry, I have to go. Someone is...
Young lady, what are you doing? Oh, this paint. It's my favorite color.
For God's sake, keep the damn stuff.
Imelda had talent, but I certainly wasn't going to tell her that. A key. Maybe a safe key. Excuse me, madame.
Yes?
I am so sorry for your loss, madame.
No, you're not. You're a journalist. Journalists don't feel sorry.
Not true.
We shall see.
Why did your husband send for me? What did he want to discuss?
I have no idea. His business was his business.
He never told you anything.
No, and frankly, I preferred it that way.
How did your husband know my father?
I have no idea.
You didn't know him? Thierry Collard?
Pierre knew a lot of people I didn't know, most of them women.
Well, just his business at
Why
first,
would a mime want to kill your husband?
Pierre had plenty of enemies. Half the husbands in Paris for a start. This is quite a scoop for you. I suppose you're already inventing the headlines.
Just because I am a journalist.
Don't patronise me. You're all cut from the same cloth. Do you have any moral sense at all?
No.
Yes, that's why I do this job.
You do it to see your name in print.
As if. My editor gets the byline, I just do the work.
Well, don't expect my sympathy.
The police will be here soon, madame. Is there anybody you would like me to contact? Family, friends?
No, I have no family. Pierre and I were... He was all I had, really. Not much, was it? The dutiful wife. That was my role. He never talked, never let me in.
I know one thing, madame.
What?
If you want to find out who killed your husband, then you let me do the job, not the police.
Why? How do I know I can trust you?
Your husband invited me here today because he needed me. I think he knew somebody wanted to kill him, and he knew I could help.
I doubt it was your database he was after.
You're wrong. I was onto his killers already, I am sure of it. Please, you owe it to him.
I don't know.
All I need is a few more minutes to look around before the police come.
You really do have a moral sense, don't you? I trust so few people. And perhaps Pierre really did think that you could help. Of course it wouldn't have stopped him seducing you too. Here, take this. It's the key to the drawing room next to the library at the end of the hall. It was Pierre's room. I rarely went in there. I couldn't. I was too scared of what I might find.
Thank you. I promise you won't regret this.
Is there a way to run? I don't remember that being around at all either, like, you know, the
The door was locked.
a good and a bad choice.
Now we were getting somewhere.
Don't remember that at all.
The painting showed the Cachons together, in love. As the poet said,
Okay.
the past is a different country. Or did I read that in a fortune cookie? There was the very faintest of clicks.
Oh, it's just a button. And then music.
Behind the picture was a safe. In the safe was some kind of artifact. There were strange symbols on its surface. It looked like the printer's blocks I'd made at art school. If there was one thing I learned about symbols, they are always important. But these symbols scratched into stone were impossible to read. I needed to find a way of printing them. At least the stone was round. But what could I use for ink? And what did I print on? Sure, I was stealing, but I knew Imelda didn't know about the artifact, and Cachon was past carrying.
The paint and the cloth, maybe? What's this? Oh, probably what to print on.
As expected, the desk was yet another priceless antique. Yawn. The blotter and in tray had clearly been placed with mathematical precision. My heart skipped a beat. It was a carved elephant. But not just any carved elephant. It had been made by my father. I knew for certain because in my apartment I had its exact twin, carved into a box he had made. So Cachon had known my father. They really must have been friends. I decided to take the carved elephant. It clearly meant nothing to Imelda. I didn't need a sheet of blotting paper. Not while it was blank. No. The blotter was flat already. Rolling the cylinder across it would achieve nothing. Putting the paint straight on the cylinder would be too messy. The paint would have just soaked into the blotting paper, but the idea was good.
That's why I said put that down.
No. I didn't want to take the tray, but I knew... no.
There we go.
I'd spread blue paint over the bottom of the tray. It was ruined. I was a very bad girl, but also quite a clever one.
Say that again, but don't say you're clever at the end of it, man. God, Nicole. Bad girl. Oh, bend that over. That little bump.
I rolled the artifact in the paint until it was completely coated.
It looks just like the napkin, the cloth I took. She rolled it in paint and put it in a pocket.
The roller and the paint worked just as I planned, but what did it say? It was some kind of coded message. It read, sub judice. I may not have learned a lot as a journalist, but that was a term I knew well. It means a legal case that is before the courts. Below it was a sequence of letters that made no sense. I suddenly realized there was a connection between the boat ticket and the coded message. The boat ticket was stamped Bateau de la Conciergerie. The conciergerie on the Ile de la Cité, by the river, housed the ancient law courts. So, sub judice could in this case mean literally under the law courts, below the conciergerie. I was pretty sure I'd found all I could here. And besides, all this opulence was making me pine for my regular life of poverty. This was a huge story. It was also one heck of a puzzle with a lot of pieces missing. But I was going to crack it. And if I could just remember the name of that fancy prize you get for being an ace journalist, I was definitely going to win it this time.
The Pulitzer, is it? What's it now?
Locked.
Oh, let's go then. And on that note, I will see you on the flip-flop.